Hello, and welcome to this XMUCOM Plus demo on how to manage music on hold using the XMU Plus. The first thing we're going to look at when we configure the unit is we need to create a new configuration. So we're going to go ahead and create an XMU Plus configuration. Now, in order to communicate everything that we do to the XMU Plus unit, we need to create a new XMU. So we go into our side book and we create a new XMU. This is only done once when we create the new XMU unit. So we're going to call this one Quick Demo. The site ID, you can give it any name that you want. Typically, it's a good thing to just put the serial number of the unit. It's a good reference, or the location of the unit can also be a good thing to do. XMU Plus access code, if you have defined an access code on the XMU, you need to put it here. And you need to select how you're going to communicate with the unit, either through modem or LAN. If it's through LAN, you need to enter the IP address of the unit. Then on the right side, what we see is where are the files for this specific XMU located in your computer. And you can, the system defines by default a location, but you can go ahead and select any location that you want on your system. It can be a network drive, it could be a local drive. You decide where you want to keep the files. And you have an option for your message file. So where will your message file be on your computer, your configuration files, and your statistics. And these are the files that are sent to the XMU and the configuration that is sent to the XMU. Or if you back up your messages from your XMU, this is where they will be stored. So this is, again, something you set up once, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. So we have our site called Quick Demo. So now we can close this. And when we want to communicate with the unit to transfer content, we go to Communicate, and we choose what we want to do. So that's the first step. Do we want to send something, messages or configuration, or do we want to receive something, receive configuration, messages, statistics? And once we've selected what we want to do, so for instance, if we want to send a configuration, then the second step is to select which site we want to receive the information. So we're just going to go, let me just sort these alphabetically, and I'll go to the letter Q, and I should have my Quick Demo, and I add to the right side, which means this is the site that it's going to connect to. When you click Apply, the request goes over to the XMU unit. And you can choose to do this live right now, or you can schedule it. So for instance, if you back up your messages, you can schedule for your back messages to be backed up onto your computer every week. You know, this is done, for instance, if you have a third party that's loading messages in your system, well, it's a good practice to back up your messages so you've got everything current. So in this case, I'm just going to close because I'm not physically connected to an XMU, and it's going to look for one and it's not going to find one. So this is when you communicate with the system. So this is the basic of the XMU. Then on the administrative side, we've got, again, one-time setting of the XMU settings. How do we set up the unit? So for instance, in this case, you know, what is the access code for the telephone, remote access, the front panel, or the XMU Plus access code? Do we partition the unit? You can partition the unit so that it looks like multiple smaller units. Different things you want to do, and session time limits, and what to do when a message is not recorded but should be played. So you've got different options here, and these are things you can discuss when you configure your system. And you have, just so I can go to override, which is essentially an emergency mode that you can put on. So when you click yes, the override is assigned to a specific port. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to change the content of your machine by a simple phone call to the device. So quickly, if there's an emergency, you can switch your regular music on hold to a very specific message saying that, you know, the agents are not available, please hang up and call later. But again, this is something that you decide if you want to configure or not. For music on hold, it may not be something you wish to do, but the option is always there. So now that we've looked at this, what we need to do is we need to configure the unit. So setting up the programs, what will play on the different music on hold queues. So to do that, we have a bunch of what we call nodes, which are these all the things you see at the top of the screen here. So you've got message node, command node, list node, date, time nodes, and not all of these are applicable for music on hold. So what we're going to look at, obviously, is the message node. The message node is either a message or a music file. In the system, they're defined as messages, but they can be either music or messages. And in here, you've got all the details. So if I go double click on here, I can set up and call this one, you know, message for customer service. And I can set a maximum length to this message. This would be in seconds. I can set a specific access code just for that message. So unless you don't enter that, unless you enter that access code, you can't change that message. What is the file name? If you have a file on your computer that you want to be this message, you can simply go to your computer, and from there, you locate where that message is located, and you can select the message file that you want. So for instance, in this case, we'll call it test1. And now test1 is assigned as message1 on the system. So you click OK, and you've got this, now message is configured. And you can have like this multiple messages. If you want to listen to the message, when you click play here, an external player will pop up and play the audio file for you. Then we have a command. A command is simply a box where you can put multiple nodes inside. So when it comes up, it's empty, but then you can add, let's say you want to play 2 messages in a row. You can add 1 message, and then you can add another one. You can change the name of that message to be message 2. So now message 1 and message 2 will play when you assign command 1 in a program. And now it says message 2 is referenced but does not exist. Do you want to create it? Yes, I want to create it, and now it's going to create message 2, and I can assign it like I did with message 1. We have list nodes. List node is similar to command, but it's specific to messages. So for instance, if I want to have 10 messages play one after the other in rotation or as a list, I can create them. So what I'm going to do first is I'll delete message 1 because it already exists, and that's not a message that I want to play here. Although I should mention that you can have the same message play at multiple places within your program. It's not specific to one location. So you can reuse the same message at multiple places if need be. So I can do a quick assign where what it will allow me to do is to have, for instance, message 11 to 20 in this message list. So it's going to quickly create all those messages for me. I don't need to create them individually. Then when I click OK, it's going to say these messages do not exist in the system. You want to create them? Yes, I want. And now I've got all these messages. And I can, again, define them and put a name to them so that we know exactly what we're doing. So that's the list. The date and the time node are specifically used to create activities based on time or date. So it can be based on a day of the week, so Saturday to Sunday, or it can be a date, and then it's a calendar date. So let's go with days of the week. And I can say Saturday, Sunday, I want to play message one. And you have all the flexibility to change those messages to be anything else. So it could be another message, or it could be another node. It's a very flexible system. And we also have the same thing, but using a time node. And within a time node, it's based on the time of the day. So between 5 p.m. and 8 o'clock in the morning, this is what I want to play. So that would be your night message. Should you have a night message not on music on hold because you're closed and it doesn't get to music, they don't get the music on hold, or hopefully they don't. But it could be any time, and you can set it up any way you want. But I'll show you a better way of using time and date node with the system, and I think it's something that will work well with what you want to do. Then we have transfer, style, DTMF, auto, Vox. All of these are used for auto attendant or IVR-like menus, not something that we're going to see for music on hold. And then we have our MOH, which is our music on hold. This will be one of the important one, and I'll come back to it later on. I just want to show you here that we have a pass node, which is more for paging. NIS, DBN, and DER, again, are for IVR-like activities, so we're not going to take a look at them. So in the music on hold, the way the system is designed, the system has the ability to mix message file and music files in the system. And typically what you do is that you have a music file that is played, and then in your voice you have your list that we saw earlier, the list file. You have your list that you assign here with a pause for the interval that you want between your messages. So essentially every 20 seconds, pause the music, so you fade the music, and then the message comes back on, and you create it like that. But I know that in the case of Quickloan for this demo, you have pre-produced music files. So essentially what you're going to do is you will, in your voice, because the voice is already mixed into your music, you simply go to edit and you select no op. So there's no voice, no operation. So the voice, we don't worry about it. And then you assign whatever music you want to that channel. And now we have our first MOH that's produced. In this case, it will play message 2 as your music file. But if we want to get more creative, or we want to be able to schedule certain things, because we know in advance what things are going to come up and all these things, well, this is where we can make use of what is known as the table node. And the table node is a very powerful node because it allows you to control exactly what will play at what time. So in the case of this configuration, I'm just waiting for the window to open up. Okay, there we go. And let's say we call this queue for customer service. There we go. And it's going to be based on months. And I'm going to create a first factor. And essentially what I'm saying is that from January to February, play message 1, which will be my January, February production. Or I can be even more precise. So if I just go, instead of month, I go to date. Now I can be more specific and say, from January 1st to February 1st, play message 1. And of course, I can change these to be any month that I want or any date in the month that I want. So for this example, let's keep it to this. And I want this to be message 11. And again, I can choose any message that I want. So I'm going to take edit off, and I'm going to add another one. And this one I'm going to edit, and it's going to be from February 2nd to March 1st. And it's going to be message number 12. And so forth. I can create another one that will go from March 2nd to April 1st, and it's going to be message. And I can just type the message number. I don't have to scroll down. It gives me that flexibility. And I have these, all my different ones. So now I know that, in January, I'm going to have my January promotion message, February, my February promotion, and so forth. So now I click OK, and I've got my table one. So in my MOH one that we created earlier, my music will now become, I'm going to go to Edit, and it's going to become table number 1. There we go. And now if I look at my table 1, I've got my MOH1, I've got my table 1. Now there's only one thing left to do in order to get this to play. I simply need to go to my XMU line configuration. And again, this is something that will be done the first time around only, because once it's configured, you don't need to worry about this anymore. So now I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to choose what kind of card I'm going to have in the system. I'm going to have a music on hold card. So I've got 4 ports per music on hold card. So in my first output, I'm going to have MOH1 as my music source. And I've got a volume set to 6. And the mode is music on hold. So in this one, obviously, I'm going to change, and I'm going to put something else because I don't want the same one. It's going to be music 2. And I can give it a label that I can call, Q for new loans. So now when I look at this, I know that it's the Q for new loans. And this one, if I can put a label as well so that it makes more sense when I look at the information. And it's going to be Q for customer service. Click OK. OK. And now I've got everything set so that the music will play on the first channel of my first card in my XMU. And I can configure up to 8 cards in the system. So obviously we need to save this. And I can save it anywhere in my system. I'll just save it here and call it Quickloan Demo. Close. And I can go to Communicate. And I can send the entire configuration. Select the site. Let me just put it back in alphabetical order so it gets easier for me to find it. Quickloan Demo. I apply, and it's going to communicate with the XMU to transfer the new program. And then I can go back and select Send All Messages, and it's going to show you the message files that we created. Right now, we have not assigned an audio file to all these messages, but it's something that you would need to do to select and to include the messages, or sorry, to assign a message to each one of these. And then when you apply, all the messages will be transferred across. on a daily basis, if you need to transfer messages, one way to also do it is using a message manager, which is another software. Let me quickly show it to you. I'm not going to be able to show you all the flexibility of it because I'm not physically connected to a device. So it's going to limit me in what I can do. So now it's looking for a device. It's not going to find it. I'm most likely going to get an error message. So let me try to get back or exit out of this. But the best thing to do is probably just to explain to you what it's not responding because it's trying to communicate with this IP address and it's not finding it. So, but what it can do, I'm going to go to the offline editor. So what you see in the offline editor, it's a tool that allows you to open an audio file. And you can, if I'm just going to randomly open an audio file, if I go to my system, works, and I go to M for message group, and I have these message file, and it works with WAV files, but also it can import other format and will convert other formats. So if I go and open this one, I've got my audio file, and the yellow lines are the optimum volume for the system, which is plus minus 7 dB. And I can increase the volume to match it within the specified range. If I don't like the silence that you see here, I can simply click on it, select it, click X, and delete it. And I can save this again to the disk. But when you're connected to the XMU, you can send this message straight to its appropriate location in the XMU. So the screen we're not seeing because we're not connected to the XMU is essentially a table where it shows you all your XMU messages, all the messages that are created in the XMU. And when you click on that message, you can retrieve the message file and it's going to show in the display. When you click retrieve, you can modify it. You can replace it by doing an open or create a brand new one if you want to record right on the system using a microphone. And then you can click send and it's going to send the file over. So for somebody who just needs to upload messages and don't need to worry about all the configuration of the XMU, this is an excellent tool. It's not that expensive. It's a few $100s, but it makes it a lot easier to communicate with the system, allows you to have passwords. So it might be a better tool just for the management of the messages once the unit is configured. So that is in a nutshell the XMUCOM software specifically for music on hold. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. What you do is you need to create a message that contains your music and messages, and that is something that you can import. And I can show you again. You simply click on here, and you select the audio file of your choice, and it becomes the proper one. We can label it music for first loans, or call it new loans. And now we've got the different one. One quick thing, when we see a little star in the status, it simply means that it is a starting node in the system. So for instance, if I was to create a new MOH node, and it would automatically go to default number 2. So I'm just going to put in here another table quickly just for a quick example. Table 2, edit off. Yes. Now they both have stars because if I go back to my line configuration I've created in here, MOH1 and MOH2. So they're starting out, the system's telling you, this is what I'm looking for to start my programming. And then it's going to play whatever is in that program folder. So I can have a call flow view. So essentially what it's telling me in this view is there's no voice, so no audio messages by themselves. It's just a music track. And in that music track, from January to February, it's going to play message 11. From February to March 1st, it's going to play message 12. And from March 2nd to April 1st, it's going to play message 13. The invalid, what that is, it essentially means if I get into a date, let's say I leave it at this, and I don't have anything after April 1st, well, then it's going to go and it's going to say, well, I've hit an invalid because I'm running into a date that's not programmed. I don't know what to do. It's going to do the invalid. So the invalid could simply be just a music file by itself, just to be safe, so that if we've made a mistake and we forgot a date range or there's something, at least something is playing. Continue. You can define something here, but because this is music on hold and plays continuously, it's never going to hit the continue. This is more when it's configured as an auto attendant. And but in this case, it's not going to be applied, so I wouldn't worry about it. So in a nutshell, this is XMUCOM. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Let me know or let Matt know, and we'll get back to you with a quick answer. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, and we hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.